I had to go, and I have a phone, but unfortunately, it's not very good at displaying on that kind of crappy camera because I did take some photos when I was down there. We had an issue where those guys in our government, I was trying to replace my birth certificate because it got misplaced, and the guys that we were serving us tried to call me on my cell phone, and they couldn't get through to me. And it's like, yeah, I don't really tend to pick up, and nobody bothered to leave a message telling me to call them back. And it's like, you would think that it would matter enough that they would actually leave a fucking message if they couldn't get through, but no, they didn't. So you can't see it because it's just a big, but I'll probably try to upload this, from Facebook, and then take that and put those documents off of. What I'll do is put them in Facebook Messenger, and then shift from there, and save those to my desktop, and then upload it to like Imager. But yeah, I saw when I was going in the building, the front door, that like we had to go see. This one's a bit of a story because my mother, we have a car, we have a Prius, but she doesn't like using it to do things and to go to places in downtown Portland, which means that what we tend to do is we will take the car and drive it to some park and ride type situation, and then get on the Max trains and go downtown and just take the trains and then do the walking on the downtown. And I'm just like, we shouldn't be doing this considering like how old you are, but she is kind of adamant. And so I had to actually visit the Department of Vital Records in person, because it was like, why haven't you sent this? And then they finally tell us they tried to call me and reach out to me and couldn't get a hold of me. And they had to ask a question before they sent them off to us. And, they didn't actually give enough of a fuck. Not good. So I'm difficult to really get a hold of on the phone, though. There's a difficulty with that in that department because I'm not really the type that tends to pick up, so it causes a bit of an issue. Also, I have a sister that tends to silence the damn device, for whatever reason. She'll come and pick it up and silence the damn thing, and and when she does silence it, I end up not actually hearing the phone calls that people make, and that's just the reality of it. I need the noise to actually pick up on the fact that this is happening, because I will ignore it otherwise. And that's what happens over and over and over again because of my sister trying to be asleep and not liking the fact that it disrupts her sleep. And so I don't get phone calls when people try to call me. And we had to go all the way downtown to find all this out, that they had tried to leave me a message on they hadn't even tried to leave me a message. They tried calling, and I never actually picked up. They didn't care enough about it to actually send me this documentation. But I went all the way down to the Department of Vital Records in downtown Portland, literally on the east side of the river, and to the government federal building with their dome on the top of the building. And it was just, we were walking and approaching it through that courtyard, and it was just like, I was having this conversation with her. I'm like, I think it's probably that building over there. That looks a lot like the kind of building that the government itself of the United States would build if it was building something that was official and in a major city. And so I'm like approaching the building. It's got this giant dome on top. It's a pretty big building with a bunch of offices inside of it and everything. And I'm walking towards it, and eventually we get right up on it, and I'm like, yeah, I was right. Just by sheer intuition, as we walked through so I end up at the government building. I walk in the front door. There's a giant mural on the door that looks like it's like an airport mural, as my partner pointed out. I took a photo of it, snapped it, and showed it to her. But I made this video to kind of debunk, a misperception of me as being, sort of part of the Passport Bros and Passport Bro crowd. I have an Eastern Romanian partner who's, she's not from here. She's not from around these parts. And we've mostly known each other over Facebook, so I'm trying to long term plans are to get out in that direction, and out in that way, and book it out of here. But I've also kind of wanted to see the world and get outside the bubble that is the United States for a long time. And if I were to talk about this very candidly, I feel like some of the most and closest moments I've had with another human being at this point have been the moments in which I notice somebody that isn't from here in the United States actually going through a moment of culture shock when they come over here. Some of the most visceral and real relatable experiences that I've ever have has been with with those types when they're here, where they're noticing, for instance, the way that like instead they come over to one of the states that actually has sales tax. We here in Oregon we don't, because fuck sales tax, like fuck anything on the basis of consumption. Yeah, yeah, we're not gonna vote for that shit. We're gonna vote out politicians that propose this kind of shit too. Like we're not gonna let anybody represent us that believes in that kind of taxation policy, like not on the basis of consumption. And there's a well-heeled and organized resistance here in Oregon to any kind of sales tax. It won't fly here in Oregon, which is what is great about this state, really. Like, that's one of the best parts about living here. There isn't any fucking sales tax. So, some of the foreigners will come over though to like one of the other states, and they'll make a video about the fact that they don't factor the fucking taxes into the price tag on the damn things. And I'm just sitting there like, look, if you want to display one of them and then in like really tiny letters display the price adjustment on the tag and make a better tag that way, I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, because it does create a situation where like business can actually get away with making it look like it's cheaper than it really is in their marketing games, but also list what it actually costs with tax included. Can we come to some kind of compromise about that? As far as the tags, I mean, I agree with the people that come over here and notice that. And they'll also come over and they'll notice that like sports are a big deal here in the United States. And I'll be sitting there like, they'll be like, yeah, we have sports in our country, but it isn't a huge deal. And I'll be like, I've got a whole bunch of hobbies and I literally couldn't give a shit about the Super Bowl or NFL or any of that kind of crap. I would much rather watch one of the animes than watch literally the Super Bowl. I will every Super Bowl Sunday. I'm literally focused somewhere else entirely than the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck, a single solitary fuck about any of that stuff. My dad had me involved with it for a little bit, and then it just kind of faded, and I stopped giving a crap because it was like there were other things that were like part of my life, and I just wasn't really interested in sports. I had other things to focus on, and video games and other things and other hobbies and other shows to watch that kind of hooked me. And so it's like I live here in the United States, and I wanted to talk about the whole passport bro phenomenon, but there's a lot to go over. I'm doing the legwork, and have been for a while to get, all the documentation together and ducks in a row to actually get my passport and real IDs here in Oregon. And if I were to talk about disenchantment with the dating culture here in the United States, what I would say is not so much what you would predict somebody that was trying to get outside the United States because they were so fed up with it would say. I would say that unfortunately here in the United States, if you were, the traditional passport bro is going to sound completely different than me because they're going to be like, yo, these girls are so feminist and, blue haired and non-traditional that I want to be with somebody that's more likely to give me the tradcon shit and everything, and they'll say that kind of thing. And it's like I can't believe that somebody would actually say that shit out loud and say that quiet part out loud. you know but truthfully, that's not why I'm interested in getting the fuck out of here. And the blue haired shit, like, gotta be honest with you, I watch so much fucking anime that's kind of hot, so that's not, I'm into that shit, so that's not gonna repel me. But here in the United States, if you're a white girl, there statistically, if I were to roll the dice, there is a greater than even chance that you're going to be like a conservative, and that's exactly why I'm disenchanted with dating in the West. It's why I want to get out of the United States.
I realize that in other Western countries, there are better Western countries where the women tend to be liberal and left wing. And I'm not trying to get away from, these women who aren't traditional. I think that the women that are in the United States that I'm running in are too conservative and too traditional. I don't want to be with a conservative. And that's why I want to get the fuck out of this, country sometimes. But I also just want to see the world, period. So they're not the only reason. But yeah, I don't want to be, I don't want to date a conservative. I don't even want to fucking hit one. So, I would not fuck, would not date. And that's the truth of the matter when it comes to that one, even if it was crudely put. So like it's at that kind of level where like if if it were down to me and the last woman in the world had when she happened to be like a member of the Republican Party, it would be like I'm going to find a gun and blow my head out rather than repopulate the world and leave her to be the last human. There is no set of circumstances in which a conservative person would be even an option as far as dating. They are completely unlovable as far as I'm concerned.